Hello there, I'm Baron Bones, and today we conclude our look at the Evil Dead franchise with the 2013 Evil Dead movie. So the 2013 Evil Dead movie was directed by Fede Alvarez and was released on April 5th, 2013. It did fairly well at the box office, grossing over $90 million, on a budget of about $17 million. Audiences and critics at first were relatively divided on the 2013 Evil Dead movie. Some actually thought it was a good new take on the franchise, some new blood, both literally and figuratively, and really felt that it was an interesting take on it, and still felt familiar like an Evil Dead movie. Some, however, felt like it was trying to be an evil cash grab and really didn't think it was worth their time. Luckily, those haters have since been silenced. Most people agree that this movie is a fairly good adaptation of Evil Dead and is a good addition to the franchise overall. What do I think? Well, I literally called this franchise the franchise with no bad entries, so I think that answers that question. Well, let's talk about the story. So the story is a bunch of college graduates go to a abandoned cabin in the woods for an intervention, find the Book of the Dead. One of them stupidly reads from it, and all hell breaks loose, both literally and figuratively again. So, yeah, the story here is nothing new. It really is a take from Evil Dead. You kind of knew what you were expecting, and you know what's going to get the ball rolling. That being said, that's not a bad thing, especially since the pacing of this film is fairly good. It keeps ramping up the kills, the intensity, and, well, the blood and gore, and it just keeps you invested. The characters, though not all of them interesting, aren't bad per se, with the exception of that dumb nurse who keeps trying to be in charge but is awful at it. But other than that, all the other characters are written to be at least likable, so you feel a little sad when they start dying and getting mutilated horribly. But they're not really written to be relatable. You don't really relate to any of these people, and you don't really care all that deeply about what happens to them. Sad, but true. Also, doesn't bug me too much. At the end of the day, what makes this movie work is its gore, and it's the way it was shot. Fede Alvarez is a fantastic director, and he was the perfect guy for the 2013 Evil Dead movie. He knows his shot composition, he knows what makes a film work, and he knows exactly how to make Evil Dead stand out. There is very little CGI in this film, if any at all. Most of this film was done by practical effects, and I appreciate that, as what made the Evil Dead movie so good was their use of practical effects. Here, this film uses primarily those same types of practical effects, and they're elevated, they work, and it's a bloody good time. There isn't a whole lot more I can add to this one, because honestly, this is one of those Evil Dead movies that if I go into greater detail, I feel like I would spoil it, as there is a couple twists and turns, especially towards the second half of the film, that you should experience for yourself. But at the end of the day, I still recommend the 2013 Evil Dead movie to anyone who's getting into the franchise. It's a good film, and it's a great addition to the Evil Dead franchise. Is it as good as the original trilogy? Let's not kid ourselves. But it is still a good film overall. Anyway, that concludes our look at the Evil Dead franchise. As I said before, Rex King already talked about Evil Dead Rise, and I agree with what he said. So it's time for us to move on. But don't worry, I have some more goodies in my bag of tricks. Till then, stay terrified.